For those of you that don't know me, my name is Chris. I'm the guy that sits in the back and doesn't want to be involved. So, in case you're wondering, let's pause for a second. How many of you thought, like, hey, Ryan's been gone for 2 weeks. He's for sure going to be there this third week. Anyone? No? Okay. Couple of us. Why would he miss 3 weeks in a row? But whatever. Here I am. Here we are. If you're wondering why I'm speaking, let me just be honest with you. I am also wondering the same thing. Why am I here today? Why are we here today? What's going on? Why is this guy talking to us this morning? When Ryan asked, I mean, he knew what he was getting into. Let me explain just a little bit about myself. I grew up in church. How many OG churchgoers do we have? Raise your hand. I'm going to need a little bit of working with me, some participation here. Okay. Raise your hands again. Like day one. I was born on a Sunday, Father's Day. I was in church the next, no joke. Okay. Keep your hands up just because I'm uncomfortable. You should also be uncomfortable. Okay. So, yeah, some OGs. This is good. Okay. Let's see. Do I want to go down that road? I grew up in a, how do I want to say this? Excited church, okay? Highly motivated. And so things were, I don't know, really about church and eat, sleep, breathe. You know what I mean? You with me? Raise your hands again. Yes, getting our workout. And so everything in life was pushing us towards church. And there was always this saying, and you've probably heard it, if the church doors are open, you better be there. You know what I mean? That type of thing. Yeah, super religious and fun. And I grew up in this, and actually when I was, about 10 years old, I think I was, anyways, my dad became a pastor. And we moved across state a couple times. He took a couple churches and led them. And man, we were just always involved in church, always. I remember before my dad was a pastor, he was a children's pastor, volunteer. And I remember as a kid helping out with puppets and different things like that. Are you still with me? OG? You did this stuff? You were in it, in the trenches? I apologize. You're going to have to just hear me drink coffee. I tried to get out of wearing a headset, but blame Dave. He's in the sound booth. So, yeah, grew up in this stuff. My dad was a pastor, and then we moved around the state. Some things happened. I moved back here when I was about 14 years old, started going to church across town, and met my wife there. Not when we didn't get married there. I was still 14, but when we were a somewhat appropriate age, we got married in the church. Shortly after we got married, I got put on staff at the church, and I was the assistant to the children's pastor and youth pastor. Basically, really, really cheap labor is all I was for 2 years. That was a joke. Come on, laugh a little bit. All right, we had a youth pastor, we had a children's pastor, and they had an assistant, which meant I did lots of stuff, and they did not. So, yeah, we did that for 2 years. Then I became a youth pastor. I don't know why I keep saying I became, whatever. I started being a youth pastor, whatever. I did that for 10 years. My wife and I did that. Had a great time. It was really fun. It was really weird, really uncomfortable. Really great. It was awesome to connect with students and families and different things and to serve the church and to be a part of God's kingdom. And then, I don't know, some things started to change. And I don't want to get too far in the weeds with this. Some would say, well, you're already far enough. But we decided it was time for a change. And so we left our position in the church. And now, on a more personal level, I just began to, I just took a step back. Let's just put it that way. I took a step back, and for the past 4 years, I've kind of enjoyed that place back because I've been reevaluating things. I've been reconsidering things. I've been seeking God in different ways, in more real ways. I grew up in church. I saw a lot of things that, like, they didn't last. You know what I mean? Anyone know what I'm talking about? Like, especially those of you that grew up in church, like, things that we would put on people, whether, like, religion, beliefs, expectations, promises even. Like, I saw a lot of things that just simply didn't last. And so for these last, it's crazy, it's already been 4 years, but these last 4 years, I've been seeking, like, God, what, I want the real you. You know what I mean? Like, and it hasn't always been perfect these past 4 years. I've been very distant from God at times, gone through seasons of not even cracking open the Bible and not even seeking God in prayer because I'm processing these things. There's been a lot of, like, PTSD, like post-traumatic Sunday disorder, you know what I mean? And a lot of damage that I'm trying to work through. And Ryan knew all this, and he decided to ask me to preach. So there you go. Blame Ryan. Okay. Gonna need you to laugh more, guys. Okay. Just pretend I'm funny, okay? And in the end, we'll blame Ryan if anything bad happens. I was talking to the band. Give the band a hand. Always got. That was again another joke because it's one person. One-man band, and he killed it. Way to go, dude. We were all talking. There were a couple of us before service, and I was rambling like I'm doing now, not making sense. And I was just telling them, like, hey, my expectation or my hope, the reason why I agreed to speak is because, again, I'm in this place of like, God, what are you doing? Like, I want something real. You know what I mean? Again, that realness, like super real, not something that's like exaggerated or made up, like nut allergies or labor pains or whatever. Like something. That was a joke. Just kidding. But I got the mom's attention. But something real, right? And so my expectation, my hope, my reason for even agreeing to do this, one, I wanted to be a good friend to Ryan. That feeling didn't last long at all. About 30 seconds after I was like, yeah, dude, I'll do it. I was like, oh, why did I do this? But more importantly, I wanted to just kind of see what God's up to. And that's what I was telling everyone in the beginning. I just want to see what God is doing. So can we come together on that today? Can we just see what God is up to? I don't know entirely what I believe, but I believe there is God. I believe he loves us so much he sent his son to die for us so that we can have a relationship with him here and in the future. And I just want to see what he's up to. So will you join me in that? Can we agree on that thing that, hey, God, whatever you have for us today, this awkward guy up there rambling about who knows what, slurping his coffee through a mustache, like maybe God might have something for us. Let's pray. God, I love you, and I thank you for bringing us here. I pray that for the next couple minutes that you speak to us, that you reveal yourself to us through your word, and just do your thing, God. We love you. Amen. Let's go to Psalm 51 real quick. And I apologize, kind of, for not having the scriptures on the screen. But at the end of the day, let's be honest, you can Google it. So Psalm 51, we find David. This is a psalm that's written. It says right at the beginning, it's the choir master, Psalm of David, when Nathan the prophet went to him after he had gone to Bathsheba. And so I got to be super mindful because, kids are here. But you know the story of David and Bathsheba, right? Right, we all know the story. We'll go over it in a second. But what I want to do today is I want to look at it kind of from a different angle. Because it's easy to read this psalm and like, oh yeah, David sinned. David really messed up. David did some bad stuff and adultery and then murder and all of these things. And we need to not do that. And then we look at Psalm 51 And we use that as an example for when we've sinned and we've messed up, and we're like, oh, God, only against you have I sinned. Wash me thoroughly from my iniquity. Cleanse me from my sin. I know my transgression. Sin, 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 right? We focus on all of that. It's easy to do that, to focus on the sin issue. And that's important. I'm not trying to discredit that. That's something we need to do. Like if there's sin in our life, right? If we've done something wrong. David did something really, really bad, right? If we do something wrong, sure, we need to address it. We need to bring it before God. We need to take ownership of it. We need to ask him to cleanse us from that. These are all great and important things, but I really feel that there's more to gain from this story than that. That'll help us on a day-to-day basis, and maybe even if we have fallen into, sin of some sort. Let's go ahead and take a look at this story of Bathsheba. Go to 2 Samuel 11 real quick. If you don't have Bibles, there's some in the chairs either underneath you or in front of you. It was fun. Toshi was like, if you don't have slides, he texted me this the other day. He was like, if you don't have slides, just tell people to use the Bibles in front of them and tell them the page number. I was like, that's hilarious. I'm not going to give you page numbers. Okay, come on, you got to laugh more, people. All right, here we go. Steve, you're the man. Also, on that, pretty cool for Steve that, he got to go to Hawaii. Super happy for you, man. 2 Samuel 11, it's the story of Bathsheba. It says this, in the spring of the year, the time when kings go to battle, David sent Joab and his servants with him and Israel. They ravaged the Amorites and besieged Rabbah, whatever. I'm saying it wrong. But David remained in Jerusalem. I think it's easy, again, another way I want to look at this scripture, I think it's easy to go like, I heard it 1,000 times growing up in church, and those of you who raised your hand earlier, you probably did too. Like, oh, David, he was in the palace when he should have been in the battlefield. You know what I'm talking about? Anyone? Let me see those hands again. Have you heard this one? Like, oh, David, this is where David messed up. This is where sin crept in and whatever. Like, and I kind of push back on that because I think David was right where he was supposed to be. If he was out of battle, like, could have died, right? And who wants to die? There's no more story if you die. Okay, all right, never mind. Steve, just come back and tell us about Hawaii, okay? Tell us how great it is and how rested. Verse 2, so it happened late one afternoon when David arose from his couch. He was just sitting there slouching, scrolling through Instagram. Like, oh, I'm a king, this is lame. He was walking on the roof of the king's house, and he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? And then everyone turned to him, and they were like, hey, dude, how do you know so much about this girl? Oh, my gosh, tough crowd. Okay. And he's like, oh, sorry, maybe, possibly it's Bathsheba. Verse 4, so David sent messengers and took her, and she came to him, and he lay with her. Now, she had been purifying herself from her uncleanness. So gross. Then she returned to her house. The woman, there are kids in here. Remember, there are kids in here. There are kids in here. The woman conceived. And she sent and told David, I'm pregnant. And David said, oops, bummer. So David sent word to Joab, send me Uriah the Hittite. And Joab sent Uriah to David. So Uriah comes out of battle, comes to David. Verse 7, when Uriah came to him, David asked how Joab was doing and how the people were doing and how the war was going. Just pause for a second and maybe even close your eyes or do whatever you need to do to lock in here. Let's get in like David's mode. Just imagine you're David, okay? You're the king of a kingdom. You're the second king. The bar's pretty low because Saul did some things that were, he was just bad and whatever. Bar's pretty low, but you're king, and you're not at battle. And then you make a mistake, like you do some things you shouldn't do, and then the problem grows more and more. I just want us to kind of empathize with David a little bit here. Let's try to feel the weight of what he's going through, okay? Put ourselves in his shoes a little bit. So then you're like, okay, well, this is a bummer. This married lady is now pregnant. How can I cover this up? So this is what David's trying to do. Verse 8, then David said to Uriah, hey, man, I got this great plan. You're probably tired from war, right? Go home, wash your feet, because that's what you should do. And Uriah went out to the king's house, and there followed him a present for the king, or from the king. And so David's like, hey, man, brought you home from battle so you can rest, right? Here's a little gift, nifty gifty. Go home, wash your feet, hang out, be with your wife. Who knows, dude? Like, maybe there's a lot of people getting pregnant these days. Maybe, you know. But Uriah slept at the door. Okay. And the king's house, or the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord, and did not go to his house. When they told David Uriah did not go to his house, David said to Uriah, come on, man, I've got a plan, and you're messing it up. Have you not come from a journey? Why do you not go down to your house? Uriah said to David, the ark of Israel. Isn't this, like, horrible? Don't you hate this? Like, when you mess up and you know you mess up, and then someone else, like, next to you does something great. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, dads in here, maybe, like, you yell at your kids, and then driving to soccer practice or to work, you see, like, some dad, like, teaching his son how to bat, or, you know what I mean? You're like, okay, dude, took a day off to go to the bat. Shut up. You're better than us. Like, what? This is David and Uriah. Like, David's like, oh, man, I messed up. I got to fix this. And so, hey, Uriah, you know, do these things. And Uriah's just like, but I'm better than you, right? So I'm not going to go home. He says, the ark of Israel is with Judah. Or, I'm sorry, the ark of Israel and Judah dwell in booths. And the Lord and my Lord, Joab, reading so hard, and his servants of my Lord are camping in the open field. Shall I then go to my house and to eat and drink and lie with my wife? As you live, as your soul lives, I will not do this thing. Then David said to Uriah, remain here today also, and tomorrow I will send you back. He's like, all right, you're not going to go home, wash feet, hang out with your wife? Then I'll just send you back to war. And David invited him. There's another part to the plan. He ate in his presence, and he drank, so that he made him drunk. David's like, I got this plan. We're going to get this guy super drunk. He's going to go home, and sure, the baby might look like me, but Uriah can claim it, and it'll be good. No one will ever know, right? That's what he's saying, basically. Say yes. Agree with me so I feel better, less insecure, and we make it through this message. Yes, okay. And in the evening, he went out to lie on his couch with his servants, or with the servants of the Lord, but he did not go to his house. Okay, David's plan is failing. Verse 14, in the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and sent it in the hand of Uriah. In the letter, he wrote, set Uriah in the forefront of the hardest fighting, and then draw back from him that he may be struck down and die. And as Joab was besieging the city, he assigned Uriah to the place where there were valiant men. And the men of the city came out and fought with Joab, and some of the servants of David among the people fell. Uriah the Hittite also died. Then Joab sent and told David the news about the fighting. So Uriah, this super good guy, can't read the room though. Randomly gets selected. They're like, hey man, you're going to go home for a little bit. Just imagine Uriah now. We pictured what it was like to be David. They're like, hey, no more battle for you. You get to go home. Sweet. Yeah, that's awesome. But I feel bad because everyone's here, whatever, you go. And then the king's like, hey, come hang out with me. You're like, what? I get to hang out with the king. And the king's like, hey, go home, hang out with your wife, wash your feet, all this stuff. And you're like, no, I feel bad about the guys in battle. And the king's like, okay, well, let's have a party, get super drunk. So imagine the next day, the king's like, hey, take this letter. Poor Uriah, just riding back to battle, like hungover. The sun's probably like, you know what I mean? And then he's like, here, Joab, like, take this. Here's a note from David. Wanted me to give it to you. And then Joab's like, oh, okay, cool, go. Oh, okay, go to the front of the battle. And Uriah's like, what? What a crazy turn of events that clearly you guys aren't going to find humor in. That's fine. Love you. Happy to be here. So Uriah dies, basically. Let's fast forward through this because we got to get to the problem here. Jump over to 2 Samuel 12. Uriah dies. David's plan kind of works. You know the story. But then Nathan, the prophet, comes to God sends him to David, tells him this story about a sheep, a guy who had a sheep, had a really weird relationship with this sheep. Like they ate together, they slept together. It was really weird. But he loved this sheep as his own. He had only one sheep. And there was a guy, his neighbor, whatever, had a ton of sheep and lots of money and all these things. A friend came to visit the guy with a lot of sheep. He takes the weird, creepy relationship sheep, kills it, feeds it to his visitor. David is like, this is insane. Why would someone with all of this power and all of this, like all of these resources, take the one thing that someone has from someone else? Nathan's like, seriously, dude? It's you, right? And David's like, oh my gosh. And then he sits down and he writes Psalm 51, and here we are today. Again, I say all that because it's easy to look at the issue as a sin issue. And I don't want to downplay that. I don't want to turn our attention completely away from that because David messed up real bad, right? Yep, say yes. Okay, cool. He messed up really bad. But I think, again, the bigger problem here is not the act, but the view, the mindset that David had as king. Let's take a look back real quick to somewhere. Let's go to, it's going to be good when you find out. I'm just kidding. Well, let's just do this. Go to 1 Samuel 8. I'll give you a second to turn there or Google it, whatever you want to do. Everyone doing okay? Couldn't do anything to change it if you weren't, but I'm glad you're doing good. Man, okay. I thought it was a funny person before I came here this morning. So, 1 Samuel 8, verse 1, it says, when Samuel became old, he made his sons judges over Israel. The name of the firstborn son was Joel, and the name of his second, Abijah, or whatever. A-Money is what we'll call him. Oh my gosh, they're getting the hang of it. They were judges in Beersheba. This is a hilarious verse that, honestly, you guys haven't earned the joke because you're not laughing at anything, so we're going to skip through it. Verse 3, yet his sons did not walk in his ways, but turned aside after gain. They took bribes and perverted justice. So God, through his people, have established prophets and judges, and this is kind of the system. This is how everything is run. But there's some corruption, and so the people decide, hey, let's do something about this. Let's bring change here. We need to fix this problem. What are we doing? What are we not doing? What can we do to make this better? Verse 4, then all the elders of Israel gathered together and came to Samuel in Ramah. And he said to him, they said this to him, behold, you are old, and your sons do not walk in your ways. Now appoint for us a king to judge us like all the nations. But this thing displeased Samuel when they said, give us a king to judge us. And Samuel prayed to the Lord, and the Lord said to Samuel, obey the voice of the people in all that they say to do, for they have not rejected You, but they have rejected me from being king over them, according to all the deeds that they have done from the day that I brought them out of Egypt, even to this day, forsaking me and serving other gods, so they are also doing to you. Now then, obey their voice. Only you solemnly warn them and show them the ways of the king who shall reign over them. This is where it starts to shift, and this is where we begin to see kind of the issue here, because David, like his people, have began to do what? What are the people doing here? They had this great relationship with God, right? This flowing system. God delivered them from Egypt. God was establishing them as a nation. God had done amazing miracles. God had provided this thing that was unlike everything else. This thing was special. This thing was different. The people were protected and provided for. Eventually, it became not enough, right? They wanted more, and they wanted to be like other kingdoms. They were seeking something else. And this is where we begin to lose track. And honestly, I think if we're real with ourselves, there's this parallel between Israel and David, but also us. So let's continue to look at this. We'll jump back and look at David's story now. So to do that, let's go to 1 Samuel 15. Verse 20 through 35, we're going to, this is where, so Israel, we just read the passage where Israel requests a king. They're like, hey, Samuel, you're old, your sons are terrible, we want a king, we're done with you, establish a king. And God's like, man, they've rejected me as king, don't worry about it, it's not you, it's me. They've been doing this since I delivered them from Egypt, and just give them the king, just warn them. So they set up, they start to set up this kingdom, and they establish Saul as the first king, right? And like I said earlier, he messes up. He does things horribly. He becomes prideful. There's actually a ton of scripture that we don't have time to get into, but Saul messes up, and God actually rejects him as king. But what is Saul's response? He starts to get defensive. He starts to defend his choice as a king. He starts to defend the kingdom. He says, hey, I did these things because I was trying to offer a good sacrifice so that our kingdom looks good. But either way, God rejects Saul as king, and then begins to search for someone after his own heart. So let's look at this. 2 Samuel 16:1 says, the Lord said to Samuel, how long will you grieve over Saul, since I have rejected him from being king over Israel? Fill your horn with oil and go. I will send you to Jesse the Bethlehemite, for I have provided for myself a king among sons. Let's skip ahead to verse 11, just for the sake of time. It says, so Samuel goes, he meets with Jesse. He's like, hey, there's going to be a new king out of here. It's going to be awesome. Let me see all your sons. They come, and it's just like, no. And then in verse 11, Samuel says to Jesse, are all of your sons here? And he said, there remains yet the youngest, but behold, he is keeping the sheep. And Samuel said to Jesse, send and get him, for we will not sit down until he comes here. And he sent and brought him in. Now he was ruddy and had beautiful eyes and was handsome. Take it easy. And the Lord said, arise, anoint him, for this is he. So let's pause looking at the kingdom for a second and back to David. This king who was so comfortable in his kingdom, so comfortable in his palace. He's walking around on the roof, and he decides, there's something I don't have that I want. I'm king. I can do this. So he takes, and he has his way, and he does his thing, and he devises a plan to cover it up, and he begins to defend his actions and all of these things. He loses sight of who he is, right? Like, he loses sight of this king on his balcony or whatever has forgotten what it's like to be a shepherd boy, not even included in the group of sons that could possibly be king, Remember, he was out keeping sheep. He's lost sight of that, and now this fall has taken place. Let's continue to dig into this a little bit more. Oh my gosh, we're so late on time. Go to Genesis real quick. Stacy, what time are we supposed to get out of here? Oh, we got 18 more minutes. We're good. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah, go to Genesis chapter 1, verse 28. This is where I don't know. This is where like we refocus. Genesis 1, verse 28. Let's just read it. And God blessed them, and God said to them, "Be fruitful and multiply. Fill the earth, subdue it, and have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the birds of the heavens, and over every living thing that moves on earth." And God said, "Behold, I have given you every plant yielding seed that is on the face of the earth, and every tree with seed in its fruit. You shall have them for food. And to every beast of the earth, and every bird of the heavens, and to everything that creeps on the earth, everything that has the breath of life, I have given every green plant for food." And it was so. And God saw everything that he had made. Could have cleared my throat without you hearing it, but I'm wearing a headset. And God saw everything that he had made. And behold, it was very good. There was evening and there was morning, the sixth day. God, in the very beginning of this thing, the very start, takes darkness, separates it from light, darkness. He calls things into being. He creates plants, he creates animals, he creates fish and livestock and birds. And he creates this garden, this place, and it's beautiful and it's perfect and it's what God wants, right? Then he creates man and he creates woman, and then he places them in this thing that he's created. He's placed them in this garden that he's established. And then what does he say? It's very, very good, right? Everything up until that point had just been good. But when he establishes this as theirs and he gives it to them, he places them in his creation, in his garden, the way that he intended it to be. He calls it very good. Fast forward to David. When he calls David out of the field, he anoints him as king. Where is he sending David? Into something that he's established, in a kingdom that he has built. Why has he selected David? Because David's good. He's a man after God's own heart. He's seeking God. He's not trying to build himself up. He's not like in the house with Jesse, like, oh, pick me. He's out doing his thing, doing what he's intended to do. And then, like the children of Israel, like Adam and Eve, like us, David gets a little comfortable, right? He gets a little complacent. He gets a little, things don't go his way, right? Things aren't according to his plan. And what he's done is he's established, as he stands on the roof of his palace or whatever, in his mind, he's also built up this kingdom. Because David had done great things before Bathsheba, right? He like killed a lot of people, defeated a lot of people, and he was building the kingdom, and he was still seeking God, and he was, taking care of people and doing all these great works, but he had built up this kingdom in his mind that separated or caused him to lose sight of the place that God had put him, the garden that God had established in him. Like I said earlier, I think when we're not careful, we live our lives, or at least we might have been raised to live our lives to think, am I sinning? What am I doing? Am I doing this right? Am I doing this wrong? Not just in relation to sin, but like maybe it's career. Maybe it's relationships that you're seeking. What am I doing? How can I make this better? We seek to control our kingdom. We seek to build and establish ourselves. And what does this lead to? This usually leads to problems. And then what happens when problems arise? If we've got this kingdom mentality, we seek to defend our kingdom, right? What happens when you build a kingdom? Well, then you have to defend it. We continue to make decisions that, just like David with covering his tracks with Bathsheba, we begin to justify our choices, our decisions. We defend our kingdom. I think what's important for us today, and I'm going to wrap this up. Actually, let's do this. Gavin, can you come back up? Bring the whole band with you. Where you at, my dude? We're going to do things just a little different. Would you just shut your eyes for a second? For a couple minutes? I mean, technically we have 12 more minutes, so you could... I think David's problem was perspective. He no longer saw himself as someone just here to enjoy what God had for him, someone to just sit in the field and be faithful with what he was given. But his perspective shifted and he became about kingdom. How do I defend this thing? What can this thing do for me? What can I get out of this life? What's not going right? What should I change? The problem here, yes, he messed up. Yes, he made a mistake. But the problem was a shift in focus, the wrong perspective maybe. The thing is with kingdom, when you're viewing things through the lens of kingdom rather than garden, with kingdom you decide what happens. You decide how things are built. You decide what direction to take. You move. You make decisions. With garden, a garden perspective, God designs, God leads, God orchestrates, God creates, God speaks. With kingdom, you ask yourself, what can I do? What should I do? What can I create? With garden, it becomes about what has God done? What has God already provided? Kingdom establishes an unnecessary and unreachable standard, a proving ground. I've got to defend myself. I can't let people know what's really going on because then they'll view the kingdom in a negative light. When you build a kingdom, you have to defend the kingdom. Israel established a kingdom because they wanted to be like all the other nations. It's what everyone else was doing. Must be the right thing to do, right? Let's do this thing. Let's be like someone else. The thing is, when we have a garden mentality, garden perspective, there's nothing to do because God has already done everything. God has established it. God has created this thing. So, as you sit there with your eyes closed, I would encourage you just begin to think about your life. What are you struggling with? Maybe it is like something like David. Maybe you have messed up. Maybe you need to pray that first part or of Psalm 51 where he's like, oh, God, clean me with, hyssop, wash me clean, make me new, all of these things. Maybe you're there. Or maybe you're in a place where you're like, you know what, I've built a kingdom in my own mind, in my own heart. I'm living this thing for me. Maybe you found that the kingdom has failed, or you've failed as king of your kingdom, that you've fallen short. Amongst all of this, I don't know, rambling, talking, thinking out loud, I think it's pretty clear to see the theme for today is truly rest. And I think Steve summed it up best, or he summed it up well, when he said, rest in the love of the Father. Maybe today you need to hear that from God's perspective, it's never been about your kingdom. It's never been about what you can do. It's never been about the Goliaths, the giants that you've slain. It's never been about the things that you've messed up. It's always been about relationship with the Father. It's always been about the love of the Father. It's always been about this thing that He's created for you, this place that He's put you, this thing that He's spoken to existence so you can have, so you can enjoy, so that you can find rest in. Maybe some of us today need to hear that we just need to find rest in His love. No more kingdom, no more, God, we don't have enough, you're not doing enough for us, we need more, I've got to do this, I've got to do that. Maybe we should all just be still and know that He's God, right? Maybe we should all just sit in this thing that He's created, that He's provided. Maybe then we'll find that sure, there are problems, but when we're in this garden like God has intended for us to be, we can find that it is truly very good, the way that God has intended. Let's just be still for a second.